This time, it's the turn of Microsoft Teams. Are you ready? Greetings YouTubers, Andy Malone, Microsoft MVP, as well as a Microsoft Certified Trainer. This time, it's the turn of administering Microsoft Teams. So in just 30 minutes, I'm going to take you from zero to hero and teach you all the basics and features of Microsoft Teams and really get you up and running and getting you started. Now, to help you along, I've time-coded each section. So if you don't have a chance to watch the whole video, then please feel free. You can jump in and jump out at the various elements. Now, if you've not subscribed, then please do go ahead, click on that subscribe button, ring that bell, and you won't miss out on any future postings. And as always, I love your comments and your feedback. So without any further ado, let's jump right in. Okay, enjoy. So I'm kicking off our journey into Teams administration here in the Microsoft 365 Admin Center. I'm going to click on Settings and I'm going to go into Organizational Settings. Now, first of all, there's a couple of settings here that you really want to take a look at. First one is the Microsoft Teams option here in the Services area. And this essentially turns on Teams for all users and also allows guest access in Microsoft Teams. Please note that guest access is on by default. The next thing you want to do is you want to go into Microsoft Groups. So Microsoft 365 Groups is down here. And again, a couple of very important things for terms of administration. Let group owners add people outside of your organization. So there is a special role, an admin role in Microsoft Azure called the guest inviter role. Now, if you've ticked this checkbox, group and team owners can invite guests into collaboration into Teams. Yes. On saying that, let guest group members access group content. Now, as I've said many times before, groups are teams. Microsoft 365 groups are Microsoft their first stage in collaboration. And with a Microsoft 365 group, you get access to a lot of content. You get a shared mailbox, calendar, contacts. You get a SharePoint team site, a OneNote page, and you also get access to a SharePoint document library. The next place to go is the actual user account themselves, and I'm just going to click on Alex's user account here in the 365 Admin Center. I'm going to click on Licenses and Apps, and here in Licenses, I'm often asked, well, obviously make sure that your users are licensed. So in this case, you can see that my users have got a Microsoft 365 license. A common question that I get asked is, Andy, how do I disable an app for a user? Well, that's easy. You simply go into the apps themselves here. So if I scroll down here and I come, let's say, right down to the bottom, and of course, one of the options here will be Microsoft Teams. So whatever app you want to disallow, you simply just take that checkbox out and that app will no longer appear in the user's list of various applications. So that's the first thing. Okay, so with Microsoft Teams then, the core admin is done in two places. Firstly, in Microsoft Teams itself. So in terms of administration, I'm selecting here, let's say, the Mark 8 project team. And the Mark 8 project team contains a Microsoft team and also what we call various channels. I can click onto the little ellipse here beside the team, and I can go up and I can either manage the team, add a channel, a member, I can edit it, and so on. If I go into manage the team here, I can add owners if I want to add some owners, and at the same time I can also add guests. A common question I always get is, Andy, how many guests can I have? Well, typically it depends on your license. And the rule of thumb is you can have 5 guests for every paid license that you have. All right. Now you can change membership. So an owner can become a member and vice versa. And it's pretty easy to do that. So what else is here? So we have channels, and you've got access to, this is quite important here. So do you want to show the channel for you and show for your members? So for example, I've got a channel here called Research and Development. You may only want that to show for you or not for the team. You can see that the team is a public group here. Again, you can also change the privacy on that, and it shows you when the last activity took place. You can edit and manage the channel individually, either by clicking on the ellipse on the right hand side or by clicking on the ellipse next to the channel of your choice. You can control things like notifications. You can manage the channel. So if I click on to managing the channel, you can control things like permissions. So for example, do you want this channel to be a moderated channel, i.e. before anything is posted into the channel, it needs to be approved first of all. Who can start posts? So everyone can start a post, or everyone except guest users can start the post. The nice thing about Teams is you also get an analysis page, and this tells you how busy the site has been, how much engagement have you had. So, that's a really nice feature. I'm going to go back into managing my team, and again back to that channels tab here. Now you can also add a new channel here. So I can specify, hey, okay, I want to create a new channel here, and I'm going to call this management, okay? And in the management, you can specify, is it going to be a standard channel so everybody can see it, or is it going to be a private channel? Now, please note, with a private channel, only members of that channel can actually see it. So when I click on OK and add this channel in, you can see I can now add in some users. So I'm going to add in Alex, I'm going to add in Adele, let's say Grady. Okay, so I'll bring in these 3 users. Okay, fantastic. So I've now added in those members into that channel. Now, you'll notice here, just on the left-hand side rather, that the channel now has a little padlock. And that padlock means that only those members can interact with that channel. Okay? Andy, can I change that privacy? Of course you can. But the key thing to note that this is now a sub-channel of the Microsoft team, Marquee project team. Now, the other thing that you can also put in, of course, when you create a channel, it's a sub-team in essence, and you also get your own document library. So you can upload documents in here just as you would work with OneDrive or something like that. Now, Andy, a common question I get is it just OneDrive for Business? And the answer is, of course not. No, you can actually use third-party cloud storage here as well. That's, of course, as long as your organization supports it. So you can choose any one of these options. So whether it be SharePoint on premises, a Dropbox, Box, ShareFile, Google Drive, whatever, you can actually have shared documents. And of course, yes, you can have both as well. So you can have both third-party cloud storage, and you can also have Microsoft Cloud Storage as well. All right. So the other things that we have here, so again, you can leave the team at any time. I can edit the team, so by managing that team, again, you've added your channels. And you've got various settings here, so things like a team picture. You can set member permissions. So once you've added in members, of course, there are 2 levels of membership. So owners and members. So you can actually specify what do you want those members to be able to do. So do you want to, let's say, allow members to edit things when they've posted things? So you may not want that. So if you've ever submitted a message in Facebook, for example, you can go back and you can edit it. Whereas if you go into WhatsApp, you can't edit the message. You can only delete it. And it's the kind of the same things here. So you've got various options on, how you want your users and members to be able to interact. Again, you get that analytics page. So it's really nice. It gives you an update, how many users you've got, how many apps are there, how much interaction have you had. This is really useful. And this is quite good because remember, it's a Microsoft 365 group as well. So there's nothing worse than having a team or a group that's doing nothing. It's just wasting resources. I mentioned apps. So when you create a Microsoft 365 group, and you extend it to become a Microsoft team, essentially what you're doing, as well as the Microsoft range of products, so OneDrive, SharePoint, document libraries, OneNote, Planner, and so on, you can also extend it with third-party products as well. All right. So this is one of the really cool things about the teams. The fact that I can go in, I can select a third-party app here. So this might be a line of business application that you work with, and you can bring that in and share that with your Microsoft team. So that is really awesome, by the way, and it's great that we can do that. Okay. Finally, we've got the tags tab here, and of course I can create tabs, and this is quite useful because tags allow you to search for content throughout Microsoft 365. All right, so those are my kind of settings there, if you will. All right. Now, just to mention that when you create channels, and you can have many channels, the key thing to remember here is that you can hide your channel. So if you don't want your users to view a channel, you can hide them. The one exception to that rule, of course, is the general tab. You can't hide the general tab. Okay? Now, I'm saying tab, I mean the general channel, I should say. Now, the one really cool thing is if I go into the management, or let's say I'll go into the market plan channel here, you'll notice that I now have tabs. So it's almost like each channel is like its own little independent sub-team, if you will. So not only can you see the chat space that's going on here, you can also upload and share files. So each channel also, as I mentioned, has its own SharePoint document library or connection to third-party cloud storage. You've also got a wiki. You've got a planner, so Microsoft Planner connects here. And you can see that I've got numerous more tasks here as well. All right. You can also create tabs. So you can have many tabs here. And these can link to documents, apps, and many things. So for example, here, let's say you want to create some travel requests. So you can use this app. This is awesome, by the way. This is Microsoft Lists, and this is in part of Microsoft 365. So I'm going to add lists, and it says, hey, do you want to add an existing list or do you want to create a list? So I can go ahead and I can say, yeah, okay, let's create a list here. And we have a whole bunch of different templates. So everything from a content scheduler to an event itinerary to a travel request. So let's click on the travel request, and I'm going to use this template. So I can stick in here, I can say, okay, this is my Mark 8 travel request page. I can change the color, I can change the icon here. So I'm going to leave it as the little aircraft. And I'll click on create. And initially it just looks like a blank page. But of course, when your team are working and they want to take some time off and they want to do a travel request, they can just simply click on a new item. Look at that. I now have that form to create travel requests. How cool is that? And of course, once you've added that, so I'll just say this is my trip 1, and you basically just add the different values. Yes, so you can choose the airline, you can put in the estimated cost, you can say when do you want to go, and all that details. And again, you can simply save that. You can see that that trip has now been saved, and the key thing is the team can share that information. So like I said, tabs in channels are really, really useful. Okay, so the first part of managing Microsoft Teams is actually in Microsoft Teams itself. Well, the second part, this is done in the Microsoft 365 Admin Center. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to scroll right down and I'm going to go into Microsoft Teams here. So this now opens up the Microsoft Teams Admin Center. All right. And this is the tenant admin center. So this manages absolutely all aspects of Microsoft Teams. So you can see that I can see all the Teams activity, right across the board here. And if I click on the drop down arrow, I can see, hey, do I want to manage my teams? So if I go into Teams Management, look at that. You can see that I've got 43 users. I've got 42 external users plus an external guest in this case. And again, just like before, you can see your various teams. Now, should you wish to manage these or edit these, so if I scroll down, you can see that I've got a number of teams, including the Microsoft 8 project team here. So some of the things that you can do, again, I can scroll right across here. You can see it shows me that the team is currently active. Everything looks good. I can click onto the team and this goes in and gives me more detailed in here. So in the team, I can open it in Microsoft Teams itself. I can send an email. You can see, I can see the owners and the members here. So, and it shows me if the user is an owner or a member. Like before, I can also change and customize that role as well. Now, the other things that we can do here, if I click on the little wheel settings here, you can choose what fields you want to see. So you can customize that. At the moment, I'm viewing everything. So you can just deselect the object here. If I click into channels, you get the same screen as we had before. So I can scroll down here. Here is my management channel here again, and you can see that that channel is private. Now, if I click in, I can get a little bit more detail. So it now shows me the owner and alongside the different members of that channel. Okay, so that's just the team settings. What else have we got? So now we have things called policies. So how do you want to manage and control this team? Now, out of the box, you get a global default policy if you want to. So it is possible that I can create a policy for the Mark 8 team policy. Okay, and I can say, hey, am I going to allow users to create private channels? So if you don't want users creating private channels, for example, in this case, it's only admins that can do that. All right. So for the purpose of this demo, I'm going to say, no, users can create private channels. All right. This is very cool. So when users create teams, we have a selection of templates that the teams can use. So there is a whole bunch of different templates here. So you can add to templates, you can remove templates, you can change them, you can copy them, and so on. All right. So this is basically allowing you to pre-create and make those templates which are appropriate to the team available here. And you can also control the policies of those as well. So I can click into the organizational settings and you can see you've got the various templates. You can go into each of the templates and it gives you more details on that template. More than that, it shows you all the different features of that template. So it shows me the different apps that's contained within the template. It shows me the channels that it's going to generate. And again, you can decide whether you want to add or remove any of these apps. All right. So Teams templates, and like I said, you've got the various policy settings as well. Okay. Devices. So at the moment, I don't have any devices in here at the moment. But if you are using Microsoft Teams phones, Teams room systems, collaboration bars, and so on, this is where you'll find all of that detail. So when you purchase Teams phones, they basically come complete with kind of a minimalized version of Windows 10 and Teams on board. And when you import that device into your organization, you can create what we call configuration profiles. And the configuration profiles are basically different settings. So if you want to, let's say I'll create a head office profile. Okay. And you can see which features do you want the device, the phone, to have. So you can set the date format, the time format. You can choose the language that you want that phone to have. So for example, if you were in Norway, you might choose Norwegian. You might want to set the office hours. So when is that phone available for your users? You can also set the network settings. So DHCP means Dynamic Host Configuration Protocol. In other words, it will pick up its addressing from a database server automatically. Yes, so once you've created this profile, I can simply save that profile. When we add devices in to 365 and when we add them into Teams, I can now assign that profile to that particular device. And it's pretty much the same with these various types of devices. So whether you buy a Teams room system or an actual phone system, they're all very, very similar. If I go into users, These are all my users in Microsoft Teams. So for example, if I click into Adele's account here, you can see that it picks up Adele's details. And again, it shows me a couple of things. It shows me, first of all, that she's got a dial-in conferencing number. So if she can't make a meeting, an online meeting, then she can dial in to this number and she can listen in to the actual meeting. Okay, so that's nice. You can see also that you've got various other settings as well. So for example, if you have a license, an E5 license, this gives you voice capabilities or PSTN. In other words, you can call mobile devices, you can make phone calls. And so here, if you can imagine you were in a call center and let's say Adele was a member of a sales team, you could specify, is she allowed to call any destination? Is she only allowed to make domestic calls, or is she allowed to make international calls as well? And essentially with Teams, you can buy calling credits for that. Now, if she was part of a sales group, what you could do is you could also bring in things like call pickup. If she's not able to take a call, then Alan and Alex can pick up the call. So you can actually use these things called policy packages. And policy packages, you can see, you can choose what kind of employee it is. So for example, if somebody works in healthcare, if I click into that, you can see this policy or package contains numerous policies. So rather than me going through each of these policy settings, you can just assign them a policy package. That's really useful, by the way. Probably one of the most important tabs in Teams is the organizational wide settings. These are your default tenant settings, and they can affect every user. One of the most important settings that you'll see here is external access and guest access. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're probably thinking, that sounds like it should be the same, Andy. Actually, they're not. They are different. So external access here, think about external access as communication. And that's the key word here. Users can communicate with other Skype for Business and Teams users. Users can communicate with Skype users. So if you didn't want that, you could switch that feature on or off. Now, the other thing that you've got here is, and let's say you've got a partner organization. So I could click on add a domain, and let's say your partner organization was called contoso.com. All right. Now you can either create an allow list or you can create a block list. You understand? So if you wanted to, you could say, I don't want anyone from contoso.com to be allowed to communicate with my organization. All right. So you can either do it with only allow these people or allow everyone except these people. All right. So for communication purposes only. Now, guest access is on by default. So this is your guests, your external users. If you've not seen my video on guest access, I'll put a link in the description. And if you want to go off and have a look at that session. Other things to do here, things like team settings. So with the team settings, things like managing tags. Do you want to integrate your email system? This is on by default, by the way, of course, otherwise you wouldn't be able to send emails. Things like file access, this is important. So we mentioned that Microsoft Teams is part of Microsoft 365 groups. Microsoft 365 groups, of course, you get OneDrive and SharePoint document libraries. But as you know, you also get access to third-party file systems. So if you don't want your users using Dropbox or Google Drive, you can switch that off and your users won't be able to interact with those third-party file systems. That's really important for security reasons, by the way. Organization, again, show organization tab in chats. I'm often asked, what the heck does that mean, Andy? Let me show you. If I quickly go back to Teams, and let's say I go back to, let me open up a team here and go in here. Okay, so here is, who's this? This is Isaiah. So if I click into Isaiah, it shows me all about Isaiah. It shows me his, shows me his phone number and his contact. But check it out. Look, organization. So where does Isaiah sit in the organization? That's the organization tab. Get it? So if you some people don't like that. So if you want to disable that, you can switch that off. Okay? There we go. Just a little bit of those organizational wide settings. So just the basics of Microsoft Teams. So there you have it, Microsoft Teams admin. Fantastic. In just 30 minutes. I really hope you enjoyed it and that you learned something. As always, if you did, I'd love your comments and your feedback, so get them down below. And if you've not subscribed, please go ahead, click on that subscribe button, ring that bell, and you won't miss out on any future postings. And as always, please like and share the video. All right, until next time, you stay safe, and I'll see you soon. Take care. Thanks for dropping by. Hope you enjoyed the video. Go ahead and click on the subscribe button and ring that bell and you won't miss a thing. See you next time.